All right, we're going to begin in Washington this morning, where the White House will host its first state dinner of the Biden presidency tonight.
Yeah, the president is going to host French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife. The two arrived at Joint Base Andrews Tuesday. And a little later this morning, they will be officially welcomed at the White House. Now, this evening's state dinner will be an opportunity for the two leaders to celebrate the relationship between the United States and its oldest ally. For more, we are joined by NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli in Washington. Mike, good morning to you. So we know state visits, they are very carefully choreographed. So what can we expect today? What have Macron's been doing since they arrived in the U.S. earlier this week?
Well, President Macron has had a very full agenda here in Washington that kicked off yesterday when he joined Vice President Kamala Harris at NASA headquarters to talk about U.S.-French cooperation in space. The French president also visited Arlington National Cemetery before visiting with President Biden last night for an informal dinner. The president took him out for Italian, actually, at a restaurant in Georgetown. Today, of course, is the substantive and the ceremonial parts of the agenda. The French president and his wife will have an official arrival ceremony here in just about a couple hours. We'll see the two leaders sit down to conduct the business in the Oval Office, followed by a joint news conference. President Macron will also visit Capitol Hill to meet with lawmakers there before tonight's big state dinner. They have flown in 200 lobsters for the main course, a butter poached lobster dish. There's also what I'm told is the 2019-2020 World Cheese Champion for part of the menu as well tonight. Jean-Baptiste is part of the entertainment tonight. This is not just the first state dinner of the Biden presidency. It's really the biggest social event that's happened here at the White House post-COVID.
Yeah, it sounds like quite the shindig there. So we know France and the U.S., they're old allies, but the relationship between Presidents Macron and Biden did get off to a rocky start. Viewers might recall last year the White House announced a deal that really torpedoed a big French submarine contract with Australia. We know Macron is scheduled to meet with President Biden in the Oval Office today. So when it comes to that, what do we think they're expected to discuss?
Well, at the top of the agenda for these two leaders, of course, is the continued fallout of Russia's invasion into Ukraine. The impacts of that are still being felt, especially in Europe as they head into winter dealing with energy issues primarily. But you're right, that submarine deal and the awkwardness that followed is really part of the discussion looming over this as well. The state visit here is kind of the final set piece of a long sort of repair effort that began last year when these two presidents met on the sidelines of the G20 in Rome. President Biden then acknowledged that that deal was handled clumsily. There's another point of contention between these two countries that have to do with one of President Biden's biggest legislative accomplishments. As part of the Inflation Reduction Act, some of the tax credits for American-made energy-efficient products, there's real concern in Europe that that's going to really hamper their economy at a time their economy is under significant strain because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
So Macron really only took office back in 2017, but with the UK leaving the European Union and Germany's Angela Merkel retiring, he's really quickly become one of Europe's most tenured leaders, and during that time, he's advocated for more European autonomy from the U.S., while President Biden is trying to work to reassert America as a global leader. How can the two thread that needle here today?
Yeah, Joe, it's a really important point because one of the unusual things about this state visit is that President Macron was just here for a state visit 4 years ago. It's rare that you have an elected head of state from another country getting two state dinners at the White House. But of course, we know who hosted President Macron last time. It was President Trump, who obviously was pursuing sort of an America first foreign policy. What that led to was European leaders like Macron realizing that Europe needed to step up to the plate a little bit more on their own. They couldn't necessarily count on American leadership here. But now that President Biden is back, we've heard the president talk about his conversations with Macron, where President Biden said America is back, and Macron responded, but for how long? So this is a really important opportunity for that European relationship to be strengthened with an ally here in Washington, at least for the time being.
All right, Mike Memoli. Mike, thanks so much.
I love that you said shindig, by the way.
Thank you.
Staying in Washington, where a younger generation of leaders is set to step into the spotlight on Capitol Hill. House Democrats officially elected New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries to be the House Minority Leader in the new Congress. He will be the first black lawmaker to lead a congressional caucus. During a news conference yesterday, Jeffries discussed working for the people.
As we work to advance the ball for everyday Americans and get stuff done. Because that's what Democrats do. That's our story, that's our legacy, that's our values, that's our commitment as we move forward.
For more on this, let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles. So, Ryan, good morning. Talk to us here about the decision to elect Jeffries to Democratic House Leader, replacing Nancy Pelosi, and also what can we expect from him as the party looks into the future?
Well, first off, Lindsay, as you point out, it was certainly historic. The fact that this will be the first time that an African-American is the leader of any political party in Congress is very significant, but it's also significant because of the generational change that it represents. The new leadership in the Democratic caucus is 30 years younger than the people that they will replace. And so that just shows you the direction of the Democratic Party as they attempt to evolve. But Hakeem Jeffries specifically as a figure will be very interesting because he is someone that has clashed with the House, current House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, soon to be Speaker of the House. But yesterday he said that he's willing to work with Republicans up to a point. Take a listen.
We look forward to finding opportunities to partner with the other side of the aisle and work with them whenever possible. But we will also push back against extremism whenever necessary. We're going to fight hard each and every day we have this honor to serve in Congress to deliver.
So the tone that Jeffries is striking there is important because if Democrats want to get anything accomplished, they're going to need Republican support. Republicans, of course, will be in the majority, but the margins will be so slim. But Jeffries is making it clear he's only going to be willing to work with Republicans if they can find common ground on issues that they both care about, and they are willing to be that roadblock to what they describe as extremism. And that's basically alluding to former President Trump and the influence that he has on the Republican Party in the House. Lindsay.
Well, and Ryan, right now we're looking at a group of people. And so in recent years, we've seen ambitious, younger Democrats looking to climb the leadership ladder, but they've had nowhere to go. And now we're seeing sort of a changing of the guard. So who are these other new leaders of the Democratic Congressional Caucus?
Yeah, so Catherine Clark is going to be the Democratic whip. She's in her 50s. She's from Massachusetts. She represents a more progressive wing of the party. She's someone that has steadily moved up the ranks, is very close with the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and is expected to be a force in the Democratic Party. And then Pete Aguilar, who's in his early 40s from California, he's going to be the Democratic caucus chair. He is obviously Hispanic. This represents the first time in forever that you've had no white men as leaders of the Democratic Party, which the Democrats believe is important because it reflects the United States as well. And, you know, beyond those three leaders at the top of the chain, there are also very young and very popular Democratic leaders in the House of Representatives that are going to have a lot of influence. Don't forget the name Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is, of course, a very prominent leader of the progressive wing of the party, and also young leaders like Cori Bush and others. So this Democratic Party is going to have a lot of voices that have not necessarily all the same exact viewpoint as to how they should govern. So it's going to be a big job for Hakeem Jeffries to keep all of those in line. And, of course, that was Nancy Pelosi's expertise.
All right, Ryan, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Now to the latest on the Georgia Senate election runoff. It's 5 days away and will determine if Democrats will add to their slim majority in the Senate. As of Wednesday, more than 833,000 voters had already cast their ballots in this runoff, which pits the Democrat incumbent Raphael Warnock against Republican challenger Herschel Walker. For the latest on the runoff, let's bring in NBC News senior political editor Mark Murray. Mark, good morning to you. So let's start with Senator Warnock, who's going to get a boost later today from former President Obama. We know the former president's campaigned before for Warnock. So what can we expect today from the former president?
Yeah, Joe, this is all about turnout and getting that early vote out. This is the final day of early voting for this Georgia runoff, and you are seeing the biggest star still in Democratic politics, Barack Obama, campaigning for Warnock. Of course, Obama did campaign for Warnock and other candidates right before the general election a few weeks ago. Barack Obama, in our most recent NBC News poll, was the most popular political figure that the poll ended up measuring. And so Raphael Warnock is hoping to kind of borrow some of that enthusiasm and electricity. Barack Obama also is starring in a final campaign ad for Raphael Warnock, in which the former president looks directly to camera, says that this election is going to be close in Georgia. You can't afford to get this decision wrong.
So let's talk about that record early voting turnout. Where is it we're actually seeing the biggest numbers? And does this signal a potential advantage for either candidate?
You know, Joe, Democrats, by and large, are the voters who end up voting early, either in person or by mail. Republicans, particularly after the Trump era, want to vote on Election Day. And so the numbers that we're seeing, I think they're disproportionately Democratic votes. But as Democrats always end up telling me that, you know, they need several great days of sustained good votes to really make up for what is an unusual election that is tucked in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and where turnout is going to be everything. You mentioned the more than 800,000 folks who have already voted early. To put that number into perspective, there were 4 million people who voted in the general election a few weeks ago. And so this will be a smaller turnout, and turnout is everything. Who ends up showing up to vote in this election, either early or in person, will decide who ends up winning.
Let's talk about Herschel Walker. We know Warnock got more votes in November, but didn't get to that 50% threshold. What's Walker doing to try and make up the votes in the runoff?
Yeah, so what Herschel Walker is trying to do is actually borrow some of the celebrity and success from Brian Kemp, the Georgia governor who ended up winning re-election a couple of weeks ago. Joe, do remember that Brian Kemp ended up defeating Stacey Abrams in that general election handily and actually ran well ahead of Herschel Walker. And now you're seeing Brian Kemp stump for Herschel Walker as well as star in his TV ads.
All right, Mark Murray. Mark, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Now to the cleanup this morning from that deadly tornado outbreak across the South. 35 tornadoes were reported across 4 states Tuesday into Wednesday, ripping through communities, destroying homes and downing power lines and trees. And some are beginning to tell their stories of survival. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock visited a town in eastern Mississippi.
In the flattened neighborhoods of Steens, Mississippi, there are certainly demolished homes, devastated souls, and a lifetime of possessions emptied for the world to see. But what you won't find, miraculously, are any families grieving the loss of life.
So it's the second time on this property that you've been hit by a tornado.
Oh, yeah.
And you've lived to tell about it.
Oh, yeah. Not wanting to, but it happens.
In the case of 66-year-old Richard White, who left before the storm to look after his dad.
He's older and he gets real nervous when these come around. Then they had them sirens going off. Yep, it was pretty rough.
His return home today highlighted the presence of a possible guardian angel.
So if that had been won over, it would have been your bedroom.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Do you see that and think that could have been life or death?
Oh, yeah. Real quick. Real quick.
And the miracles just kept on coming.
You know, I'm looking around you right now. You have the side of your wall caved in. There is no roof.
No roof.
Where were you during the storm?
I was in the bathroom, in my hallway on the north side of the house. And you'll see why in a few minutes.
Take a look at the inside of James Brown's house.
What's right there?
That was my storage shed.
And now you have a clear view of the field behind your house.
I have a clear view of the field. See, it came right through here.
The living room, patio, and rear bedroom were all ripped away as he hid in the bathroom holding this transistor radio.
I had a phone there. I had a radio right here. I had my remote control.
Brown's bedroom and bathroom managed to stay untouched while everything else in the home met Mother Nature's might.
Did you think you were going to survive in that moment?
Well, yes, and that's where I was at, because it wasn't. I felt safe where I was at.
What evidence did you have that you were going to live through this?
Just that maybe the good Lord told me I need to survive, I guess.
A blessing for sure, as this unincorporated community in eastern Mississippi felt awfully connected.
Oh, thanks to Sam Brock for that report. It's important that people like James knew what to do, where to go, the safest place when those tornadoes hit. Obviously glad to see that they're doing okay.
That is the key in those situations. We are tracking the start of our next cross-country storm.
Meteorologist Michelle Grossman joins us now for more on that and the rest of your Morning News Now weather. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, guys. So good to see you. And the good news is we're clearing out. We've cleared out in the Gulf Coast states, the southeast. So the cleanup today will be a little bit easier with temperatures not that bad. The sun will be shining, but we are watching our next cross-country storm, as you guys just mentioned, moving into the Pacific Northwest. So we're looking at snow, and it could be heavy at times, up to 2 to 3 feet in some spots, and also some lower elevation rain that could be causing some flooding as it hits the burn areas, because we could see up to 2 inches in some spots. So as we go throughout the Intermountain West, the Pacific Northwest, into the Central Plains tomorrow, then the Midwest later on tomorrow night. That is our next system that we're going to watch move across the country. 7 million people impacted by winter alerts. In the white, we're looking at winter weather advisories. Winter storm watches are in the blue, and winter storm warnings are in the pink. So that's through California as well, Washington, Oregon, into portions of the Intermountain West. Now, this is what we're looking at. We have a cold front that's moving on shore today. We're going to see another one on Saturday. It's going to bring heavy rain, some wind into the Sierra Mountains. That's where we could see 2 to 3 feet of snow. So the highest amounts into the Sierra Mountains. And we're looking at soaking rain into Central California. Then it's going to move to the south. So Southern California, you're going to see some heavy rain as well, too. By Friday, the front quickly tracks into the plains. We're going to see snow there. We're going to see snow in the upper Midwest. And we could see quite a bit of snow there as well. Where you see the purples, the pinks, that's where we're expecting the highest amounts at the highest elevations. But those elevations are coming down. So we're looking anywhere from 12, even up to 18, 3 feet in some spots. That would be at the highest amounts in the Sierra. Rainfall, we're looking along the coast, especially seeing some really heavy rain. And then the lower elevations also seeing the heavy rainfall as well. For the rest of the country, we are dry in the middle of the country. That's good. We're mild and bright in the central and southern plains. I mentioned the Gulf Coast states. We're looking pretty good there, too. For cleanup, a few showers in portions of central and southern Florida. Now, the Northeast, we were much colder than yesterday. We dropped about 15 degrees. It's windy, too, so it's going to feel a little colder than it actually is. But we're going to start to introduce some rain by the weekend. How cold is it? Well, we're looking at temperatures in the 40s in D.C. That's 9 degrees below normal for this time of year. 39 in Chicago, 36 in Buffalo. But we have some warm air to the west. That's going to move in tomorrow, and especially on Saturday, into the Northeast. So temperatures above normal in Kansas City, about 20 degrees above normal at 66 degrees. Almost 70 degrees in Oklahoma City, 64 in Little Rock. And as we go throughout the weekend, notice D.C. we're looking at good on Saturday, and then we're chilly once again on Sunday, back to the 50s on Monday. So it's sort of that roller coaster time of year.
But Saturday looks nice.
Yeah, it looks nice. But it comes with showers, a little breezy, too.
Never mind.
There's always a trade-off.
That's why I'm not the weather person.
I'm like,
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.